Um, so I think over break, I will just ask you to sort of solidify what we've worked on. I told you to target the noun endings. So we have, I gave you a sheet. You have multiple sheets. I don't know if anybody had a chance to go back through. You know, I asked you to see if there were any sheets you were missing. If there are, you can contact me. Surely you have a sheet that, sheets with all of our noun, various noun groups on it. But just to remind you, don't have to write this down because you have sheets with all of this. But what do I mean by all the noun groups? I mean this. The nouns that end in "a", the ones that end in "us", the weird ones that are like, here, I'm just going to do the singular, okay? I'm not going to bother to do the plural. S-E-M-A. We have some that go us, ooey, ooh, and we have the new one, S-A-E, A-E-M-A. Those are the main groups, right? And you have various sheets that tell you. These we've been using forever. All right, you should really have those down. If you don't, it's definitely time to have them singular and plural. This one we've been using for, definitely since the beginning of this year, maybe longer. These two are a little more recent. Two ways to do this. You can look at the worksheets that I gave you, and they've got the different declensions on there. Or, the book, Famiglia Romana, has them. Sometimes they put them in a different order than is customary. But I would just repeat, just find a declension that you don't know, find a noun list you don't know, and just write it over and over and over again. And again, if you have, a piece of paper, let's just write out the rest of the first declension, which you probably, they're going to come in. The Sunday school people are saying, what was she writing on the board? All these weird. So we'll do the plural, I, arum, is, as, is. So, you have your paper, whatever, and I was working on this, so I'd write it down, and then I'd cover one, and I'd write them. Then I'd cover two, and I'd write them again, and I'd cover three, and I'd write them again. Then I'd cover four, and I'd write them again. And then if you did that, you'd write it 10 times. And by the end, you'd be writing them all without looking at anything. And that is a really good technique, and it gives you lots of repetition. And that's all there is. It just amounts to lots of repetition, honestly, to memorize something. And you guys have memorized things before, I'm sure. So it's just repeating, writing it out, saying it. But at this point, it would be very helpful for you to know all of your noun endings, and then you'll be able to recognize them faster. So that's something you can shoot for. Other than that, I am just going to leave our break open-ended. Spend as much time looking at Latin as you are able. I realize you have things to do. It will not help you if you walk away from here and don't look at it again for 3 weeks till you come back. You will suffer. So, but do I expect you to get up Christmas morning and do your Latin before? You don't. But there's more time than you realize, you know what I mean? It's a week till Christmas Eve right now. And we've got almost a week after New Year's before we come together. I mean, so there's time. There's time. So I'm not going to lay down, read this, read that. Read through Lectus Procrasti again. Read through the chapters that we've read. You can listen to the videos, watch along with the videos. You can read just like a paragraph, but say, I am going to work through this paragraph, and I'm going to figure out what every single word in this paragraph is doing. Great. That might take you half an hour. Sometimes you might be reading and I'm zipping through, I kind of know what's going on, good enough. That's fine sometimes. Sometimes saying, I'm just going to take this little section and I'm going to figure out what the subject is and the direct object and why this is ablative in every single sentence. And if I don't know, I'm going to write a little note and ask Mrs. Ferguson, what's up here? You also may email me if you're doing that and say, this is driving me nuts. I'm on page whatever and I'm on line whatever. I don't know what this I don't know what's up with this word. Why in the world would it have that ending? Email me and I'll answer. I'll say, hey, that's a good question. This is what's going on, okay? Feel free to do that. Don't hinder yourself by, well, now I've got to wait 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever to find out what the answer to that is. So, spend some time with your Latin. Going back over all of these sheets would also probably be valuable. You know, each chapter, some of them are going to be just highly easy. But, you know, I mean, there's nothing here like that you can't read to yourself and understand. Do you know what I mean? It's not like lofty grammar or anything like that. It's just, you know, the ablative is used without a preposition to indicate the time when something is great. And then they give examples. So that sort of thing. Is that definite enough? Like I feel like if I don't say do these pages or this, maybe I'm asking for trouble, but I feel like at you guys' age, you know, I should be able to say just, you know, whenever you're able, spend some time with your Latin, working through some sentences, listening to the video, and working on your endings and going back over these sheets and reminding yourselves of some of the things maybe we haven't used in a while. Okay? All right.
Because word endings are probably the hardest part of
And it's the most critical part because it tells you everything. It tells you who's doing it and what they're doing it to and when they're doing it, and it's everything. So also, this would be a really good time because we're going to, when we come back together, we're going to be learning some other verb forms. And so, like really hitting our nouns. Like we know what's going on with the nouns now. We're good. Then when we move on and we do some different things with verbs, second semester, it'll just be easier for you. You won't have a lot of things at the same time. Okay, so we are going to continue with Lectus Procrasti, and I have no idea how far we got. We didn't get to Sky.
I want to say we got to like.
We didn't.
Did we read it?
We didn't read Skyna Prima at all, did we? Did we only read the first 2 paragraphs? Yeah, I think we only read those first 2 paragraphs. We must have we had questions or sentences to go over, didn't we? Or I went over stuff on those sheets. Okay, so let's just see if we can get through, we might even get through this whole thing. So in Skyna Prima, which is on page 2, does everybody see where that is? In the, like it's starting at line 19.
Oh, my pages were slightly wrong.
We got that?
Yeah.
Line 19, page 2? Okay. Vir ostium procrasti pulsat. Pulsat. It is vir pulsat ostium. Est ostium. Ostium cuius ostium. Ostium procrasti. Et procrustam interrogat. Vir interrogat procrustam. Possumne hic dormire. Hic est in hoc loco. Hic. Ego possum ne hic dormire? Quairo, ego quairo, est quairo. Oh, quairo. Ubi est, quairo. Quairo cubiculum cum lecto. Est cubiculum. Lecto est locus in quo dormit. Et vir pulsat ostium et interrogat, ego, possumne ego dormire hic? Ego quaero cubiculum cum lecto. Quot numis constat. Mimenistis. Lydia et medus ambulat in Oppido, in Roma, et vident tabernarium, et tabernarius habet annulos et lenias, et medus interrogat quot numis constat annulus. It is the way of saying, how much does it cost? it costs, it is made up from how many coins? Quote numis, it's always in the ablative, konstat. And then the answer is always in the ablative. So this is just kind of an idiom, not an idiot. An idiom, it's a Latin way of saying how much does it cost? Quote numis konstat. Dormiri in lecto. Procrostis laetus est. Intra, amice. Non necesse est pecuniam mihi dare. Non necesse est dare pecuniam. Quote numis constat? Nullis numis. Nullis numis. Hic, it is in hoc loco, hic sunt cibus et lectus sine pretio. Non habet pretium. Sine pretio. Solus in hac villa magna sum, et nullos amicos habeo. Esne dicite mihi. Esne procrastes solus in domo? Vel habetne procrastes amicos. Quot viri sunt in villa. Quot viri? Duo viri, tres viri, quattor viri, quot viri sunt in villa. Unus vir. Procrastes est solus. Non est alius vir in villa. Procrastis est solus. Cur, videbimus. We will see why he's alone in the house. All right, so let's just stop for a minute. I don't love doing it this way, but I think we need to, maybe just a little bit. Non necesse est pecuniam mihi dare. What is he saying?
It's not necessary to give you money.
It's not necessary to give money to me. You don't have to give me any money. Hic sunt cibus et lectus sine pretio. What is sine pretio? Without cost, without price. Sine is one of our prepositions that takes the ablative, right? Sine pretio. No cost here. Et dicit est solus, sum solus in villa, et habeo nullos amicos. Veni in atrium, ede, bibe, dormi. Hospes quoque laetus est. Hospes est vir qui venit ad villam alii viri. It's a guest. It can also be a host. I know, this is very confusing. But obviously they told us Procrustes was happy. And then it says, quoque hospes laetus est. So it's the vir qui pulsat laetus est. Cur, quia habet lectum et cibum sine pretio est bonum. Intrat villam et cibum a procrusta accipit. Est accipit. Procrastes dat cibum et vir accipit cibum. Procrastes poculum plenum vini hospiti dat. Est poculum, non est poculum. Est poculum aquae. Procrastes dat poculum plenum vini. Vinum est in populo. Non est aqua in populo est.
Wine.
Bene, bene, bene. So Procrustes gives a cup pleno weenie, full. What's going on with weenie? What case do you think that is? Or why does it have the ending weenie?
Is it genitive?
It is genitive, full of wine. This is a kind of a different sort of genitive. You know, it's not like the wines with an apostrophe S, full. The full that belongs to the wine. Doesn't make any sense. But whenever we have that of, full of, we often do this in English. It's full of what? Full of this. It's full of wine. What? This is tricky. Oh, this is so tricky. What case is hospiti? I'm going to write some endings on the board. You mull it over. I will tell you that hospe is one of these. So it's in that group. So what does hospiti have to be?
It's dative.
It has to be dative. And what is the job of a dative? Like what's
The indirect object.
It's the indirect object. Beautiful, beautiful. So he gives a cup full of wine to the guest. It's a little tricky because we have weenie, hospiti. You know, we see two I's in a row like that, and it's just, I noticed that there are two of them in a row, and I want to put them together somehow because they have the same ending, but they don't really. One of them is dative, and one of them is genitive. So, back to that. Procrustes gives a cup full of wine to the guest. Hospes panem est. Non est est. Est. Est panem et vinum bibit dum Procrustes tacet eumque aspicit. Vir est. Est panem et bibit vinum et Procrustes tacet et aspicit eum. Videt eum. Non dicit tacet, sed aspicit.
It's kind of confusing that's pocket because it sounds like talk.
What?
It's kind of confusing that's pocket.
It sounds like
Dicit,
yeah.
dicit, aspicit. Procul avila. Non est prope. Procul avila. Lupus ululat. Ululat. Hospes videt Procrustam tacere et non biberi. Vir est et bibit. Procrustes non est, non bibit, et hospes vir putat. Cur non est, cur non bibit. Nescio. Poculum imponit et Procrustam interrogat. Cur non bibis, domine? Bene, bene. Vir, hospes, imponit poculum suum. Quid est suum? His own. If it were someone else's, we'd say eus. Poculum eus. His. That guy over there, his cup. But he puts his own. Poculum suum. Bene, bene. He puts his own cup on the table. Et interrogat. Oh, cur tu non bibis, domine? Procrustes non respondet. Sed hospitem interrogat. Amice, audisne illum lupum ululare, puto eum cibum quaerere. Procrustes non respondet, sed interrogat. Oh, amice, audisne lupum? Audisne lupum ululare? Oh. Ego puto lupum quaerere cibum. Venit e silva es lupus. Lupus venit e silva ad decem oves meas. Potestne audire oves meas, ballare es ballare ballare. Quod always habet procrustes. Quod habet unus, habet tres, quod always habet. Decem, habet decem always. Procrustes habet decem always. Et audit lupum, et dicit, lupus quaerit cibum. Lupus venit e silva ad oves meas, et tu, hospes, tu audis potes audire oves meas bollare? Hospes, ubi est canis tuus? Ubi est pastor? Officium, the job, officium canis est custodire oves, et pugnare lupum. Et quoque est officium pastoris, custodire oves, et pugnare lupum, et hospes interrogat, ubi est canis? Ubi est pastor? Procrustes, nullus canis est. Procrustes non habet canem. Nullus pastor, non habet pastorem. Lupus dentibus suis oves meas est, ut nos iam panem edimus. Nos, tu et ego, nos edemus panem. Lupus, quoque, est oves. Homines edunt panem, lupi edunt oves. Commodo, dentibus, with his teeth, right? Using his teeth. Tu ipse ad villam meam sine temore ambulas, et cibum quaeris. Lupus quoque sine temori oves meas petit. Procrustes dicit, tu, hospes, tu ipse ambulas ad villam meam sine temore. Tu non times. Quoque lupus petit oves meas sine temore. In what way are the guest and the wolf the same, according to that sentence?
They both don't fear.
Yeah, they both came here without fear. Like you came sine temore. You walked to my villa without fear. The wolf also will seek out my sheep without fear. It seems a little threatening. So far, the guy seems a little threatening. Also, I know he's a bad guy, so. Bestiae sunt bestiae. Dei sunt Dei. Hospes. Et homines sunt homines. Cure ad ois tuas, quaeso, Domine? Hmm. Bestiae sunt bestiae, Dei sunt Dei, homines sunt homines. We have a saying like this a little bit. We say it about boys will be boys. We say sometimes when boys are acting up, which isn't very fair, because A, not all boys do that. B, some girls are very, very problematic. Also, but you say, animals are animals, the gods are the gods, and I guess and men are men, like we care for our animals, and he tells them, cure ad oves tuas, quaeso, Domine, quaeso est please. Literally it means I seek or I ask, but whenever you see it thrown out, and they're like, quaeso, please, go to your sheep. Procrastis ridet. Oves cibus lupi sunt. Ooh, non est bonum. Oves sunt cibus lupi, nunc. Necesse est cibo convenire ad bestiam. Ut annulus meus ad digitum convenit, aut lectus convenit ad corpus tuum. Convenit. Procrastis dicit, annulus convenit ad digitum. Non est magnus, non est parvus, convenit. Si non convenit, cadit. If it doesn't fit, it falls off, right? Convenit. Annulus convenit. Et dicit, necesse est convenire cibo ad bestiam. The food, it's necessary to match the food to the animal, right? Like not everybody eats the same thing. Not everything fits. So you know what? Sheep are decent food for wolves. I'm just going to he'll just eat my sheep. Necesse est convenire cibo ad bestiam. Ut annulus meus ad digitum convenit, aut lectus convenit ad corpus tuum. Necesse est lectus esse non nimis too much longus, non nimis parvus brevis, necesse est lectus convenit ad corpus. It's necessary for the bed to fit the size of the person, right? He says rings, necessary for rings to fit your finger. It's necessary for the food to fit the animal. It's necessary for a bed to fit the size of your body. This guy's creepy. It's time to leave now, but anyway, we know this is the hero that's going to save the day. But does that make sense? That's kind of a hard section. Convenit means fit, match, right? And he says the food is necessary to match the food to the animal, the ring to the finger, the bed to the body. Wow. Tu autem fessus es. Ecce cubiculum tuum. Cubiculum post hospitem est post hospitem digito monstrat, with his finger. Digito. Hospes. Via longa est, et nimis multum vini bibo fessusum gratias tibi, Domine. Hospes respondet, via est longa, et ego bibo multum vini. What does he say he's done? I'm drinking a lot of wine. Much of wine is how they say it. A lot of wine. Sum fessus, gratias tibi. Hospes cubiculum suum intrat, ostium claudit, et super lectum jacet. Stat et hikest jaket. Hospes jaket. Vidite. Spectate. Discipuli. Spectate. Jaket. Jaket in necto. Procrastes neque bibit, neque dormit. Annulum sum spectat, dum audit oves ballare. Procrastes non dormit, non bibit, spectat annulum, et audit lupum, et audit oves. Because he's thinking about things that fit, apparently, because he's creepy. All right, bene. Is there anything there that you want to go back over? Anything that jumps out at you? It's like, I don't know what in the world's going on here.
Anything I had, you cleared up pretty well.
Okay, good. Well, let's just go on to Skyna Secunda. We might not get through this whole thing, but this does us some good, I think. Okay. Hospes quietus super lectum jacet ut mortuus. Non est mortuus, sed dormit ut mortuus. Dormit bene. Nimis fessus est, sed dormire non potest. Non dormit, sed jacet et mortuus? Nescio. He's laying there as dead. He's really super tired, but he's not able to sleep. Maybe we sometimes say we're dead tired. Do you know what I mean? He lays there like, I'm just too tired to move, but he can't fall asleep. Have you ever been so like super tired, but you can't seem to doze off?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So maybe that's it. He's quietus jacet super lectum, ut mortuus, non est mortuus, sed non potest dormire. Oculos claudit, et se interrogat. Quem interrogat? Who does he ask this question of? Himself. Se. He asks himself. Quis est hic vir? Quis vir est hic? Cur solus habitat? Et oves, sed nullum canem habet. Cur habet oves, sed non habet canem. Mirabile est. Cur hic lectus tam ostium cubiculi eius aperitur. Ostium aperitur. Hospes oculos suos aperit, et videt procrustam stare ante lectum. Procrastes. Multi homines qui ambulant ad hanc vilam jacent super hunc lectum, sed nulli homines discedunt. Est malum. Procrastes dicit, multi homines veniunt, non discedunt. Multi homines jacent in lecto, sed non discedunt. Capilli hospitis horrent. Est capilli horrent. Est horrent. We get horrified from that, but usually when your hair does, it means stand on end. His hair stood on end. Capilli horrent. Capilli hospitis. Quia hospes iam videt procrustam malum esse. Finally, tandem, videt procrustam esse malum. Here's let's just stop and just take a quick look at that one. It's one of our those indirect statements that we've run into in Familia Romana. So the hairs of the guest stand up because the guest now sees, And literally, the guest now sees Procrustes to be evil. As Procrustes to be evil. In English, though, we would say he sees that Procrustes is evil. Do you hear that? We often use that when we're saying, I see, I hear, I think. I think that pizza is good for supper. I heard that we're going to buy a new car. We're not doing a direct quote, you know what I mean? And this is the thing that we use an infinitive for with accusative in Latin. Have we run into that enough that you're feeling a little more comfortable with that, or is that okay? So another one here. He sees Procrustes to be evil. And it's fine to be literal in your head, but we would say he sees that Procrustes is bad. Curri autem e cubiculo non audet. Non audet curri e cubiculo. Quid significat audet? Do you know what does audet mean? He doesn't do what? That's audit. Oh, I'm so glad I asked. Audet non est audit. Est audit. Audeo means dare. Dare. We actually, a nice English, audacious. Get the English word audacious from audeo, audere. So the here verb is audire. And this one's audere. And I know you're thinking, that is so unfair. Like, why are they so close? Well, the thing is, in English, we have lots of words that differ from only one letter, and we're just totally fine with it. But it's like, oh, it's mean of them to make. It's not mean. It's just the way it is. So audere is dare. So it says, he does not dare, moreover, to run out of the room. He does not dare to run. You can probably hear that dare often is going to come with an infinitive. We often don't, you dare to do something or don't dare to do something. Sentit cor suum palpitare et audit se spirare, sed se movere non potest. Sentit, the senses, we get the senses from sentire, he feels, right? He senses. Quod sentit cor palpitare. Cor suum palpitare. Yes, Gabriel.
I was about to ask what, I'm trying to find it. I lost where I'm at. It's palpitare.
Palpitare. Yes, cor, et palpitare. You know what? We actually use this word in English too. If you have palpitations, somebody's having palpitations, it means their heart is not beating in a normal rhythm. In this case, it doesn't mean that. It just means beating. Palpitare. So sentit cor palpitare et audit se spirare. Spirare. Sed non potest movere se. Jacet in lecto. Timet. Non potest movere. Hospes autem interrogare potest. Cur nulli homines discedunt. In oculis eius sunt lacrimae. Oh, est mala fabula. Et hospes potest interrogare. Non potest movere. Non potest curri, sed potest interrogare. Cur nulli homines discedunt. Et habet lacrimas in oculis eius. Procrustes. Ha. Lacrimae tuae me delectant. Oh, est malum. Nulli homines discedunt a villa mea, quia homo, qui neque pedes, neque crura habet, ambulare non potest. Oh, homo qui non habet pedes, qui non habet crura, non potest ambulare. Procrustes secat pedes et secat crura. Homines non habet, itaque non potest ambulare. Hospes videt procrustam tenere cultrum magnum, est cultrum, cultrum, quid significat cultrum, culter? Knife. Et clamat, oh, Dei boni! Quid agis? O male, o male, o male homo, quid agis? Hospes tuus sum, ego sum hospes. Nos duo homines sumus. Tu es homo, ego sum homo, sumus homines. Non fac id hoc malum. Procrustes urursum ridet. Esne hospes meus, potesne ovis, esse hospes lupi. Esne ovis, hospes lupi, is a sheep, the guest of the wolf. Leones et homines non amici sunt, neque lupi et oves. Ego malus sum, sed non tantum homo, filius Neptuni sum. Oh, Procrustes non est homo, est Deus. Fortasse. Pater est Neptunus. Neptunus habet multos malos filios. Neptunus quoque habet cyclopum, filium cyclopum palefemum, qui est amicos Ulixi. Polyphemus, the Cyclops, he's also a son of Neptune.
I've heard of stories.
Yes. Neptunus habet multos malos filios, et Procrustes est unus. Dei non pariunt homines. Pariunt est, in the margin, do you see it has a note here? Feminae liberos pariunt. It's give birth, right? Women give birth to children. And he says, Dei non pariunt homines. Right? Dei pariunt Deos. Gods don't give birth to men. Gods give birth to gods. So if my dad is Neptune, you are in big trouble because I'm not even human. Does that make sense? Yeah. Dicis ne te hospitem meum esse? Necesse est hospitibus meis convenire ad lectum meum. Esne tu hospes? Bene. Necesse est hospitibus convenire ad lectum. Sed hic lectus non tam langus est, quam corpus tuum. Corpus est longius, quam lectus. Itaque necesse est secat partem corporis. Est malum, est valde malum. And we know this story, right? Procrustes, the bed of Procrustes is proverbial that he cuts off the bits that don't fit. Okay, well, we made it through scene 1 and scene 2. Actually, we've got a few minutes left. Do we want to keep going or do we want to just stop?
Yeah, maybe just like a little bit more.
Okay. Hospes tacet. Non respondet. Neque se movet, neque spirat. Spirat. Non spirat, non movet. Cor eius. Non palpitat. Oh. Est malum mortus est. Cor non palpitat? Non spirat? Mortus est. Est tristis fabula. Procrastes ante, procrastes ante lectum stat. I haven't read this before. Et spectat sanguinem rubrum, qui de corpore hospitis fluit. Est valde malum. Sanguis fluit de corpore hospitis. Procrastes duo crura eus sumit, imponit in mensa? Procrastes secat crura, et imponit crura in mensa? Saculum quoque hospitis, qui plenus pecuniae est, sumit. Okay, I understand that part. I understand stealing somebody's money. I'm stealing their legs. That's gross. Laetus est. Atque vir malus numos in saculo numerat. Quinque sex septum procrastis consistit atque tacet. Quid audit? Alius vir ostium pulsat et camat. I feel like we have to finish the story now, guys. Alius vir procrastes e cubiculo in atrium ambulat. Per fenestram. Quid significat fenestra? Quid significat fenestra? Est fenestra, est fenestra, est fenestra. Per fenestra, videt virum ante ostium stare. Hic vir est magnus, et procrastae videtur esse neque homo neque Deus. Quis est vir? Vir est magnus, valde magnus, et non videtur esse homo, non videtur esse Deus. Quis est? Procrastes clamat, quod nomen tibi est? Quaeris ne cibum et cubiculum? Procrastam quaero, salve Domine, mihi nomes est Decius. Est bona. Decius occidit, interfecit procrastam. Secat crura procrustae, et pedes procrustae. It's a gross story. That's always one of the weirdest ones. Like, who just... Here, I'm going to shut the video off.